as the pick phase is underway. You can see that on the screen. It will be Greece instantly locked in by AG Global back to the old standards after a bit of a deviation in the pick order last time out. Then it will be Brazil as second map, France as third map, USA fourth, and China as your decider.
Yeah, interesting. Brazil, France, I think both two maps that can cause quite some issues. In the case of Brazil, right, the reactor over the water. For France, the fast sectors at the start, along with the half pipe jumps towards the end. It says a lot about the playstyle, I think, of Lingo and Scrappy, and I think it does fit them, right? Knowing the maps, seeing the maps. I'm not surprised to see those coming out from them and, giving them some room to explore in the middle half. But, I mean, that's all going to come down to what is, AG going to bring to the table here? Because I know the way they've been playing, they're hunting for that win once again.
Yeah, and Greece returning as the opening pick for AG Global after taking a bit of a sidestep following the 3-0 loss that they actually took against Pac B, starting on Greece where they just lost it completely 10-4. And hopefully they'll be returning back to their winning ways for themselves. Gwen currently with 14 round wins out of 38 reported on eCircuitMania.com. That's a 36.8% win rate, the most out of all the players that are in this field, well, of the players that are in this server. Binks, of course, being the one who insta-locks it because he knows that he can perform very well, as was exemplified by his Elite Cup win on March 14th, and of course, by the fact that he holds the best time in match, a .121, which is also a personal best for him so far on this map, a medium of 113.653, about a tenth off from what his teammate can produce, a .569, and also both of the AG Global players without any DNFs. Lingo also looking fairly reliable, but Scrappy has one black mark against his name that was one retirement on his round, so it will be very much up to Scrappy to try and actually pick up the ball here. Going into predictions, I'm thinking it will be an AG Global victory, but I'm not thinking we're going to be seeing a 3-0 series. I'm predicting at least one map, in that sense, Brazil going the way of Cook.
Yeah, I could see that definitely being the case, 3-1. I feel with Greece, the way Binks' identity goes, I believe he is one of the best when it comes to tackling that identity, that staircase every single time. So much pushing through. But I would say 3-1. I could definitely see a 3-2 happening, but it may require Cook, to really get something going on their own tracks. But AG definitely coming in as the favorites, as we are about ready to get things kicked off. Warm-up just finishing up. Greece has been loaded in, and we are off to the races once again. It's going to be AG Global versus Aguk, Scrappy and Lingo versus Gwen and Binks, as we're off for that first round, and everyone's even Steven for the time being.
So far, everybody managing to make it through clean, although we did see a bit of a clip of checkpoint number 3 and that chicane there on the way into the double right header before checkpoint 4. That was Scrappy who fell victim of that particular chicane. He will be falling 2.1 seconds down compared to the leading trio, currently led by Lingo, currently still fighting off the chase, being put on by both Binks and Gwen, who get a supreme final drop down in that middle part, and thus Binks will sprint into the lead battle. Gwen still very much in hot pursuit, looking to take advantage of any mistake happening up front as we go to the big NASCAR turn of checkpoints 9 through 10, marking the start of Sector 3. Lingo, with a bit more speed carrying through that corner compared to Binks, will take the lead away from the Frenchman from Istres, as we did see a bit of a correction from Gwen, which is going to be costing him time at the entry into the dirt from checkpoint number 12. It will be Binks versus Lingo up ahead. The advantage goes to the man from Quebec for over a tenth of a second, and a big slowdown on the part of Binks before going into the identity over the penalty grass. Gwen will be taking up the slack and moving up into second. It will be the draw at the end of this round, or will it be Lingo clipping big time on the final drop down, and will actually drop to third as a result of that mishap. And what could have been a draw which would have kept Cook very much in the fight will transform into an ace, allowing all gamers to take advantage of their map pick to the fullest for the first round.
Yeah, Lingo was looking to push it throughout each and every one of these drops, and it was looking great right up until the end. You hate to see it in that regard, doing a phenomenal job setting up some defense for his teammates' error at the start of that first round. But it's tough to, get that in every single time, especially with the way Gwen and Binks are able to tackle that, despite that slowdown on Binks' side, still very close to the action. And able to take advantage of that mistake. But round number 2 is the place where Cook is going to have to get something back. And once again, Lingo finding themselves at the front. This time, it's going to be Gwen battling things out next to one another. Gwen taking the opening shot here onto the plastic. Just a little bit ahead. We're talking minuscule amounts of distance. NASCAR sector true. Gwen actually able to push just a little bit more using the space that is available to them. And oof, Lingo too far on the inside is going to allow Gwen to get away with it. Bing slotting into P2. It's going to be up to Scrappy now to make some distance happen. But I mean, it's got to be tough. There's got to be a lot of risk to be involved. Gwen very close to the hole. Doesn't clip over as we go through that second staircase. Gwen gets a little bit of a 50-50 grind. Does stay on the platform. Is being hunted down. Is Lingo able to get by? Yes, he is. Only just. Gwen still able to stay that well. Honestly, he was able to, despite that little grind, keep the momentum going and still almost brought that ace home.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the landing also into that grind somewhat determined if he was able to kind of get away with it or not, because as soon as he ended on that grind, he regained the grip on his left side tire with the car seemingly coming back up. So it allowed him to get some acceleration going and try to somewhat save it, but he still lost enough momentum to allow Lingo a bit of a shot at sniping him into the finish line, which he managed to do so, and thus prevent back-to-back aces from being scored by AG Global, although Scrappy this time will probably not have any impact on this round. He will be down in last place, and his teammate Lingo also suffering in the first staircase spot. So the second ace for AG Global might very well be on its way here in round number 3 as we go into checkpoint number 9, the big NASCAR turn. A bit of a wide entry for Gwen, does manage to correct it in the second part. Binks, it was the opposite, an early entry into the first part and went way wide in the second part, forcing himself to lift a little bit, and the two AG Global players will be hand in hand almost, separated by 55 milliseconds into checkpoint number 12, and now Lingo makes it a 3-way fight for the lead, barely avoids brushing the wall on the way into that penalty grass. He sends it all the way through. Will he be able to parlay that into an individual round win? No, because he clips quite heavily on the penultimate platform. Scrappy up to third, but not in with touching distance of the AG Global duo. It will be a .412 for Gwen. Good innings, all things considered, and a .646 for Binks. 8-1 for all gamers, looking to make this first map a 4-round deal.
Yeah, I mean, this goes to show how much of a powerhouse AG Global can be on a map like Greece. They find themselves always competing, always pushing. Even though Lingo has been doing a phenomenal job, Scrappy has been having some issues keeping up with the pace, and even when there are errors on the side of either Binks or Gwen, they still stay in. It's very hard to find themselves really lacking, really falling behind along each and every one of these turns. Even as we head through the ice onto the first staircase, Gwen and Binks, they're still there, they're still lurking, and well, you know what? When there's errors, they will take advantage of that. Lingo with a bit of a clip has to go for the respawn. Scrappy surrounded by Gwen and Binks heading into that NASCAR sector. Once again, sets up a little bit wider, tries to get a bit more pace, different lines. Stays within contention though, and as we do get towards that final sector once again, we will see whether or not Scrappy has the room. You really want to have a little bit of a lead on Gwen or Binks, but where are you going to even get that with the way they're driving right now? Once again, getting close to the hole, and Gwen and Binks actually going a little bit wider. The staircase will be the place where they have to determine. Scrappy needs to get by both if he wants to keep this round alive, but Binks and Gwen just calm, secured another .4 to bring home that ace, and it's one of those where just a few mistakes here or there from Cook, and AG Global took full advantage of that.
Yeah, and Lingo tried to put up a good fight over the course of the rounds, but slight mistakes in execution and slight mishaps have cost him dearly. And you were asking a question: what can Cook get away with on the Greece? How can Cook get past on Greece compared to AG Global? I would just say the answer is that's the neat part. You just don't. That's just how it is around here, except maybe if you have a mistake like Gwen's that you saw on screen, allowing Lingo to move up into second. But that's really the only point you're able to get against the all-French lineup, the powerhouse that is AG Global, who scored this first map on an 11-1 score. And we now move on to the first of two map picks where Cook will be looking to kind of flip the script on its head. And this is the best place to do it. It is Brazil, because this is one of those maps where AG Global have been feeling a little bit more vulnerable compared to the opposing teams.
Yeah, that is definitely one of those things where I feel Cook should have a bit of an advantage. Very much more a track that I feel fits Scrappy and Lingo's playstyle. I mean, Stats-wise, Scrappy is the fastest out of the 4 with a .725. Lingo with an 848, and Gwen with an 861 following that. Binks with a 921. Now, obviously, these are PBs. Mentioning those just now, for Greece, I mean, Scrappy did have a .2, but at no point did we see that come out. They're just, giving us a barometer of what to expect. But with the way Brazil has been going in general, right, when there are someone like Neon, for example, if this is a track you have under your belt, then it's pretty much what AG was able to do on Greece, and you just have such a good way of pressuring your opponents. And I'm curious if Scrappy and Lingo are trying to get that out of a map like Brazil.
Yeah, and you were mentioning the PBs that you see at the bottom left. Those are very much mere indicators and overall positions in the global leaderboard. As far as what the match times are concerned, it is Lingo who drove the fastest time on match with a .848, which is his personal best. But the medians, this is where you can actually see some interesting patterns develop. It is Scrappy who actually is the quicker on the medium basis by about 0.4 of a second. So Lingo faster in theory on paper, but in a more regular manner, it is Scrappy that is very much doing the bulk of the work for his team, even though Lingo can very much shine through in very, very consequent rounds. And Binks is the only one that can compete in median with Scrappy, but so far there hasn't been a ton of success for him here on this map, as Scrappy has taken quite the lead going into sector number 3 and into the plastic quarter pipe. Checkpoint 13 will give us a good reference as to the split times. It will be a .405. This is already looking very fast, potentially a .9 mid to a .9 low.
Yeah, heading into that water sector once again. Scrappy has been able to keep the lead throughout each and every one of these. Gwen just coming in by the wayside. Goes for a little bit of a wider line to pick up a bit more speed. True to rocks we go. Once again, we have lost Binks along the way, but Scrappy keeps ahead of Gwen. Lingo coming into 3rd place due to that error from Binks. And so from a draw to a victory, Cook able to get some points, finagling those out with a .9 to set the bar. Already, giving us a good idea of what the pace is at, and Cook finally finding themselves in a lead at the second track of our match.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, very good for them to get themselves into the lead early on here in the proceedings on Brazil. And yeah, that correlation that we found out, 0.4 being a 0.9 mid, 0.9 low, still holds true so far. But of course, when we say 0.3, that's by the time we reach checkpoint 13, as we said. And so far, Scrappy is making the correlation still hold true. As so far, though, there's a bit of a shocker of a start for both Cook players, as Lingo slowed down dramatically at the exit of the loop, it seems. And Scrappy, over the course of the first ladder and the beach before it, has seen the 2 AG Global players just completely eat him alive at this point.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough one. On the side of Lingo, 2 starts just not really going the way as necessarily would have expected. And Scrappy having a bit of a poor entry into that first river does mean that he has been stuck in 3rd place ever since. And Gwen and Binks, I mean, we've seen what they've been able to do on a map like Greece. When a mistake occurs, they take advantage of that situation fully. And here, once again, finding themselves doing exactly that, crossing the finish line. 1 and 2, another ace for AG Global, retaking the lead with a 0.9 once again. I mean, that is pretty much the bar you're going to have to clear here. And I mean, a 0.9 in and of itself is already ridiculously fast.
Yeah, the 63-second round time, no matter how close you can get to it, is very much going to be the benchmark. A 104, 64 seconds, I guess we could say that, doesn't really make the cut with the players like you have here on this server. And a clip from Gwen midway through the loop is going to be giving an opportunity for Cook to try and settle the score a bit more in their favor here. Scrappy will be leading at the end of sector number 1. Binks and Lingo almost side by side, a very high-speed train there as we make our way through the bumps on the beach. It's very, very bumpy out here, almost looking like the Enduro at the 2K in France there for those motocross fans out there, but Scrappy still holds the lead after the first reactor part.
Yeah, Scrappy this time around not losing as much speed as he did on the bumps on round number 2 and finds himself 1st place. Lingo wanting to link up though. I mean, this is a prime opportunity for Cook to take advantage of that error on the side of Gwen, but Binks, I mean, he has that tenacity, he has that ability to stay in the mix, stay in that position where Cook has to push each and every one of these turns. Lingo tries to get for it, has it, finds it, gets through, brings the ace home for an ace. Cook with their first one, retake the lead 5-4, but a precarious lead. Only that singular point separating the 2 teams. Cook still fighting for that win on their map pick.
Yeah, but still, it's a very successful trade that is going to be very important to keep their morale up and looking to try and parlay that morale into potential more round wins and trying to wind the gap a bit more. Although Lingo is going to be suffering a bit here on that start, barely keeps the 4th gear at the top of the loop as he was down below the 200 km/h threshold, which is usually synonymous with a downshift to gear 3, but given that he was sideways, was able to keep it. So Scrappy is all on his own to try and actually bring a point home for Cook, to try and actually, at the worst case scenario, try to have the scores leveled out, if not trying to enforce a draw to keep that 1-point lead alive. But right now it is Gwen holding the keys to the round, and Binks trying to make it into an ace formation for the blue side. The split at checkpoint 13, it will be a 0.4 mid, so we're going to be starting to see a little bit of a lift of the pace, a bit of a lift off the throttle, maybe our first 104 of the map here, and a no slide for Binks in the entry into that glider chicane, promoting Lingo up to 3rd, looking to secure the draw for Team Cook and keep that 1-point lead alive. Scrappy versus Gwen. Scrappy too far back to make an attack stick. It will be a 104, but by 1 millisecond, almost from dead flat. It will be a 0.100 actually from Scrappy, as it is 99 milliseconds behind on the dot compared to Gwen. Lingo in 3rd, and it will be the draw secured 6-5. Cook still leading by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, and I mean, in that regard, Cook can be very happy with that error on the side of Binks. AG would have loved an ace right there, put themselves in track position, and you know what? Sometimes when it rains, it pours. Binks once again finds themselves going out, but very early on this time around, pressure on the side of Gwen to keep some pressure on Scrappy. Make sure that points still go the way of AG, as Cook is very close to getting into map point. Gwen and Scrappy heading into the water side by side. Scrappy once again with a bit of a wider line to try and get a bit more pace heading into the plastic, but goes a little bit high, loses a little bit of ground on Gwen, and Gwen in a great position right now to draw things out.
Yeah, and so far looking to try and turn up the wake back up a little bit, as we did see our first 104, looking to try to keep it into the 103s from here on out, as Scrappy is still very much in the fight and looking to chase down Gwen for all he's worth. Goes full inside on the gate of checkpoint 16, trying to pile the pressure on, get a more direct line through the penultimate hairpin. It will not be enough to intimidate the Frenchman whatsoever, who will be clocking in a 0.977 to guarantee the individual win, and the draw will be secured by virtue of that 4th place from Binks. 7 points for Cook, 6 points for all gamers. Map point attempts number 1, then the very first attempt, as a matter of fact, because they were not anywhere close to that target on the previous map, of course, on account of all gamers being all gamers and just absolutely pounding out the rounds on Greece.
Exactly that. Looking great on the side of Lingo. He has been looking a little bit shaky on that water plastic sector, but this time around, straight into the mix, stays within everyone, and actually duking it out with Binks at the front. Gwen with a little bit of a slower line does mean that he's going to have to look for any and all inefficiencies on the side of Cook, and you know what? That is one to take advantage of. Lingo going a little bit too wide, having to go for a release, and ends up in P4 by just 0.2 of a second. But 0.2 of a second is pretty much an eternity between these 4 players. Binks and Gwen are in position to stop the strike point from happening, and it would take both players to crash out for this to go their way. And in fact, they are putting themselves in a phenomenal position. Ace formation will put them on 9 points, all of a sudden really turning the screws on Cook as they fly in formation. A couple of 0.0s. Look at that, 1,000s between the 2 teammates, and bringing track point their way. This is the scary part, right? Just one simple error, and all of a sudden, AG is right there to take that map away from you.
Yeah, and Cook were like, that was not part of the plan at all. That was not part of the master plan to try and actually make all gamers fall on its knees. That was not part of the master plan either, with that huge full stop pick into the reactor gate from Scrappy early on in the round. And it looks as though that first map pick from Cook might just be slipping away from their fingers right from the outset on this final round of competition. Likely, well, it is going to be final round anyway. As long as all gamers can keep it in second place at the minimum, it will be the round win and the map win, and Cook need an ace at all costs. But right now that ace is not looking to be kind of like drawing itself to be an opportunity now, as you see Lingo get overtaken by Gwen. Scrappy trying to tandem this with his teammates, trying to pile the pressure on the young Frenchman, and you can see the times have somewhat slipped quite a bit on the 0.581 split at checkpoint 13. It is going to be well into the 104s. Lingo forced to release a little bit into that chicane at the entry into the final glider, penultimate hairpin. Gwen still holding a steadfast lead of 1/10 of a second, and he will keep that lead all the way to the finish line with a 0.211 at the stripe and a 10-8 score. Cook missing out on the opportunity to level the playing field, and all gamers within one map of making it another victory here on this 4th week of Overdrive and making it 2 victories out of 3 matches this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I wouldn't even call this like this is the type of, I would compare it to like a boxing match where 2 opponents versus one another are just looking at each and every one of those steps, every one of those punches, right? Any feints that may occur, and the moment a mistake happens, strike immediately, find that gap in their defenses and go for it. I mean, in that sense, Brazil very much more showing off what Cook is capable of, but still, you're up against AG Global, you're up against the current #1 in the divisions. May not be the case at the end, depending on how Pac B plays their season, but definitely giving us a bit more of an impression of what they're able to do. Now on France, they have another opportunity on a map that they prefer, that they would like to play on, and where on Brazil, the errors can be quite devastating. They're not really, that fallible to that. Whereas when it comes to France, one bad half pipe or just one bad jump here into this dirt little cup, it's lights out.
Yeah, and it's lights out. And just taking a look at the stats, Lingo is going to have to try and get his act together, because just looking purely from a stat perspective, out of 25 rounds that were reported on CM that these 2 played, there has been 1 DNF, 6 last places for Lingo. He does have a 32% win rate with 8 round wins out of 25, but he does need to brush up on his consistency a little bit if he wants to be a bit more impactful on this map for this particular moment, especially against the likes of AG Global, with Gwen, for instance, having a median pace of a 107.572 across all matches. Even though he doesn't have the best time in match, that will be falling the way of Lingo with a .055, but it will be very much the proof in the pudding. You have to play the format. You have to be there when you need the most. Whenever you actually have a teammate falling by the wayside, you need to pick up the slack, and you also need to be dependable at all costs, no matter the rounds, no matter the maps. And right now, Lingo is kind of failing that, at least on fronts, if the stats are anything to go by.
Yeah, so at the moment, Binks and Gwen are able to just stay linked up. Lingo going a bit too wide, hitting the wall there, and has lost that that fight that he had with Gwen and Binks as they are flying in ace formation, though, with the half pipes coming up. Any small little error in these jumps can be enough for them to fall behind, though the gap is quite large. They know if they have checked 0.2 of a second, which should be enough to stay ahead. Clean jumps on the right, to the left, and into the finish they go. Look at that, a nice .1 and .2 from Gwen and Binks. Cook with a bit of a poor first round, especially with the level that AG Global is playing at, and just a bit of a bad start from Scrappy, already causing some issues, not able to keep up, and then Lingo having issues with that their turn. And I mean, that's all Gwen and Binks need.
Yeah, it's all Gwen and Binks need, but whenever you're driving a mid-point one, it feels like absolutely nobody, well, very few people can really take on you. That's at least what it feels like from my personal opinion, as we see Gwen continuing to emerge in the lead in the checkpoint #4 and the long right-hander in the dirt. A no slide attempt from Scrappy doesn't really parlay into any extra speed, though. Binks will be going a bit more sideways and will thus be locked in the battle for third with Lingo. Gwen continuing to scamper away into the lead by 1/10 of a second compared to Scrappy. Lingo keeping it outside of the wall, avoiding the wall brush that he suffered from in round #1, and Gwen still very much keeping on keeping on. Basically, that's the mantra of the AG Global guys at the moment, as Gwen went for a very low jump on the second dip, and you can see Binks and Lingo still going at it side by side for third place, going into the identity. Who gets the best amount of clips? They will be actually Scrappy with a very hefty clip, forced to take the safer routes, alternative route for everybody else involved. Lingo versus Binks. Lingo will resist and thus prevent the back-to-back aces from being scored, but Gwen absolutely unassailable up front. Dips into the .0s as well, a .061, which is going to be a new best time for him in match, just 6 milliseconds off of the mark that Lingo set earlier on in the season.
And that was just absolutely burning tires, scorching through the track. I mean, I'm surprised that his wheels are still attached. The way he was driving, phenomenal stuff. But hey, what comes up must come down. And unfortunately, you know how it goes.
Scrappy.
You have one good round, great round, and then you fall by. And Scrappy going down there as well. A 1v1 at the front. First time we've really seen that occur in this fashion so early on. And that is the danger of France in that regard, right? Those first couple of sectors so fast, and it's quite easy to have a bit of an error and slow down by that. But even then, still within contention, still Gwen in a position to take advantage of a mistake on the side of Lingo. But Lingo doing a great job defending. Scrappy now also slotting into P3. Not quite sure what happened there to Gwen, but he has fallen behind. It's going to come down to the half pipes once again. Lingo coming in first, Binks in second, and they will stay on the right side. Scrappy having some issues. Ooh, this may be enough for Lingo to at least stay ahead, but it's going to be a draw most likely. Yes, it is. Gwen coming in P3 due to that error on the side of Scrappy, and it is only going to be that singular point on the side of Cook. Lingo doing what he needed to do with a point 2, and that is great and all, but the gap is still 4 points.
Yeah, and it's fair to say that it was an attrition-laden round where Lingo very much shined through this time around, exactly what he needs to do. But yeah, the various mistakes that happened, Gwen going over center in the way on the bubble were before checkpoint number 2, Scrappy clipping the top of the checkpoint 3 arch, and then of course some more problems further down the line with a big clip from Binks and from Scrappy, promoting Lingo up into the lead and validating the draw as a matter of fact. And through the start again, Scrappy with some issues will be falling 4/10 behind the leading trio, and a no slide attempted by Lingo, but Gwen will get it better actually than everybody else. Will even leave his teammate in the dust by about 1/10 of a second, going into checkpoint number 5. As we go into checkpoint 6, very aggressive entry from Binks, almost clipping the wall not once but twice on the way into that long left-hander before checkpoint 7, and it looks as though all gamers look to get another ace in the books, their second ace in 4 rounds potentially here on France as we go into the left-hander before checkpoint number 9. Gwen and Binks separated by 51 milliseconds. Gwen played with fire and unfortunately got burned after he clipped the apex on the double right-hander before the identity. It will be all down to Binks now to guarantee the individual win. At a big clip from Lingo, forcing him to respawn, promotes Gwen back up to 3rd. It will be the victory at the end of this round, and Binks will clock in a .368. We definitely kind of left off the gas a little bit after the .1s and the .0s that Gwen drew earlier on, but still, solid times, all things considered.
Yeah, I felt like Gwen there, bit of a slower sector on the dirt, leave the oversteer just a little bit, but allowing Binks to catch a bit up, because his first half was absolutely divine, just doing a phenomenal job going through each and every one of these turns, just keeping the pace mega high. And after that victory, it is going to be all gamers on match point, but you know what, it's been hard to get match point in with an early mistake. Binks with the transition over. Gwen now eating a little bit of the wall on that sausage block, definitely not as tasty as you would like, but now another error happening right before the speed check on Lingo does make it through, goes over, but it's giving all gamers some room to get back into it. Match point is, they got a lot of time to cash that one in. 8-3, and Cook needing an ace, needing to make that gap of 5 points up, and Lingo going a bit too wide. There's Gwen coming in. Binks also finding some room, get closer and closer, and it's getting scary right now for Cook. Scrappy, wait, what just, I didn't even see what's floating down there.
Well, Lingo went too far inside. It clipped the apex. That's what happened. And Scrappy also looking very slow on the way to checkpoint 9. So it looks as though they said to AG Glable said to Cook, y'all gotta move, give me some room, give me the juice. And the juice they got. Gwen will be taking the win with a .914, a very uncharacteristic time compared to what we saw earlier on. But 1-2 is more than enough to guarantee that 3rd consecutive map win, and Cook just completely fumbled it out of nowhere in that final sector. That's I don't know what else just happened there. Maybe brain leaking out of the ears somewhat for both Scrappy and Lingo, but in the end, as predicted, all gamers did win. I was expecting a bit more of a fight from Cook though, especially on Brazil. This is the one that really rattled them and kind of set them on the path for failure and for total domination for all gamers as well.
Yeah. Once we hit France, it seemed like they were unable to really get a grip on the match in their favor, even though that was probably the weakest map we've seen from AG Global, right? Just a couple more mistakes, actually falling behind by a couple of seconds, and Cook unable to take advantage of that is just not the way to go at it, especially, you know, playing up against Gwen and Binks in the form that they are in right now. It is a bit of a tougher one. I mean, Cook is going to have to go back to the drawing board, I think, honestly, is Brazil is pretty much a great performance, but even then, that wasn't enough. Just that inconsistency, maybe a little bit too much of a glass cannon situation, whatever it may be. They're gonna have to figure that out and figure a way to stay together. As that, I think, is probably the biggest error we've seen from them.
That's the biggest problem. They're trying to play the format, but they're kind of failing at it. And much like everything else in every single other format in Trackmania, the devil is really in the details, and they really need to fine-tune this in if they really want to make themselves a bit more of a potent contender for a potential playoff spot. Because remember, they are trying to contend for the top 4 placings, which would be going through to the playoffs of this opening split of Overdrive here in Division 1. So, speaking of Division 1, that was the last game of the day for Division 1. There is going to be one heck of a marathon of that top division tomorrow. It starts already at 1 p.m., so make sure to be with us because it's going to be a doozy, not just for players, but also for us casters. There's going to be rotations, of course, but yeah, this is going to be one heck of a day. And first of all, we still have some matches to attend to today. First up is going to be, in about half an hour, will be Shift versus Evolup, the top team of Division 2 versus the bottom team of Division 2. And I think all of us have a certain meme in mind whenever we actually see some of those matchups. I think you might have an idea involving a certain baby that might have a bit of respiratory problems, if you catch my drift. But yeah, that's definitely the overall vibe that we get. Maybe Evolup can turn the tide around, who knows? But the only way to find out is to stick with us throughout this break. The Overdrive action will be back right after this.
How could I just lose control? As I rise around to sense so close. At the bar, sweaty clothes, it's obvious, I know. Will you ever know? Can't really wanna get somewhere, but here, take me out.